Every person shows the world a version of themselves. But beneath the surface, there is always more. Hidden fears, quiet hopes, and unspoken memories shaping how they think, feel, and love. Before we dive in, make sure to like and subscribe so you never miss the kind of psychology facts that change how you see people. 1. The mind remembers what the heart refuses to let go. When an experience holds strong emotion, love, fear, heartbreak, loss, the brain stores it differently. It becomes deeply encoded, resurfacing even years later through memories, dreams, or sudden feelings. That is why certain songs, places, or smells can bring you right back to someone or something you thought you'd moved on from. Emotional memory is powerful because it's tied to survival. Your mind believes anything that deeply affected you is important for the future. Healing isn't about forgetting. It's about learning to revisit those memories without letting them own you. 2. Sometimes the person who looks strongest is the one breaking quietly. Some people learned early that expressing pain wasn't safe. So they built armor, calm voices, steady faces, humor, independence. The world praises them for being strong, but they carry burdens nobody sees. They're the ones who comfort others first, show up without being asked, and hold themselves together even when everything inside feels chaotic. They're not emotionless. They just learned that vulnerability is risky. These are the people who need the most understanding because they rarely ask for it. 3. Our brains are wired to focus on what we can't have. When something or someone is unavailable, the brain perceives it as more valuable. It's a survival mechanism. Scarce things meant survival advantage. Today, it shows up in relationships, goals, and material desires. We chase people who pull away, crave validation from those who ignore us, and romanticize what's just out of reach. Often, we're not in love with the person. We're addicted to the chase, to the imagined future. Understanding this can break cycles of longing for what was never meant for us. 4. People don't become distant because they stop caring, but because they care too much. When feelings run deep, fear follows. Fear of loss, rejection, vulnerability. Some people pull away not because affection faded, but because emotions are overwhelming. They retreat to protect themselves, hoping distance will feel safer than closeness. What looks like coldness is often self-defense. They are waiting for someone patient enough to understand that their silence is not absence. It's fear. 5. The loneliest people are often the ones who make others feel less alone. They know what emotional emptiness feels like, so they try to spare others from that pain. They listen without judgment, offer comfort freely, and give warmth they never received. Their hearts are open because they know how a closed heart feels. But when they're hurting, they hide it, because they don't want to be a burden. These people are easy to love, yet hard to truly see. 6. We tend to love people who remind us of what we lost. Sometimes we're not drawn to a person because of who they are, but because they resemble someone who once mattered, a past lover, a parent, or a friend. The familiarity creates comfort. The mind recognizes traits it once valued. But this can also trap us in old cycles, loving new people for old wounds. Healing begins when we see new connections for what they are, not echoes of what came before. 7. Silence is often louder than words. When someone grows quiet, it rarely means they don't care. Silence carries fears, disappointments, and unsaid truths. It speaks of overthinking, confusion, and emotional overload. People fall silent when they don't feel safe expressing themselves, or when they're afraid of the consequences of honesty. Listening to silence is sometimes more important than listening to words, because silence reveals what someone is too afraid to say. 8. We are drawn to people who feel like home, but sometimes home wasn't safe. If chaos was familiar growing up, then chaos may feel normal in adulthood. We may confuse unpredictability with passion, emotional highs and lows with love. It's not intentional. The nervous system associates familiarity with comfort. True growth comes from choosing what feels peaceful over what feels familiar, even if peace feels uncomfortable at first. 9. When someone truly loves you, their actions show it without needing permission. Love isn't proven through grand gestures. It's shown through consistency, presence, and effort. Someone who loves you makes space for you. In their schedule, in their life, in their thoughts. They check in, listen, remember details, notice your moods, and show up even when it's inconvenient. Real love doesn't need constant reassurance. It's visible. 10. We often apologize for feelings we never caused. People who grew up managing others' emotions learn to take responsibility for things that aren't their fault. They say sorry when someone is upset, even if they did nothing wrong. They internalize blame because it gives them a sense of control. If everything is their fault, then maybe they can fix it. Healing means learning that other people's emotions are not always yours to carry. 11. When we fear loss, we accept less than we deserve. Fear makes us compromise, staying in toxic relationships, tolerating disrespect, shrinking ourselves to avoid conflict. The mind fears losing what it has more than it values gaining something better. This keeps people stuck in places where they are undervalued. The moment you realize your worth, you stop chasing what doesn't choose you. 12. Sometimes the hardest goodbye is to a future you never got to live. Breakups hurt not only because you lose a person, but because you lose the version of life you imagined with them. The plans, the dreams, the quiet moments you pictured, they all disappear. You're grieving not just the relationship, but the alternate reality your heart began to build. Healing means letting go of the future you thought you'd have, not just the person. 13. Trust isn't built by perfection, but by repair. No relationship is free of mistakes. What makes trust strong is the willingness to apologize, to listen, and to rebuild. When two people can face conflict without abandoning each other, connection deepens. Perfection doesn't create intimacy, repair does. The strongest bonds aren't the ones without breaks. They're the ones that mend. 14. Overthinking is a form of self-protection, but it often creates the pain we fear. The mind analyzes possibilities trying to avoid danger. It imagines worst-case scenarios so you can prepare. But this protection often becomes torture, creating problems that weren't there. Overthinking is rooted in fear. Fear of being hurt, of being wrong, of failing. It's not stupidity, it's survival gone overboard. The goal isn't to stop thinking, it's to teach your mind that uncertainty is not always a threat. 15. You can care about someone and still choose yourself. Saying goodbye doesn't always mean you stopped loving someone. Sometimes it means you started loving yourself too. People think self-protection is selfish, but it's necessary. You can appreciate what someone brought to your life and still walk away because you deserve peace. Love doesn't require self-abandonment. Sometimes the most loving act is letting go. 16. Some people can't receive love because they never learned what safe love feels like. If someone grew up around criticism, emotional distance, or inconsistency, love can feel unfamiliar, even threatening. Their nervous system associates attachment with pain. So when someone finally treats them with care, their instinct is to run, question, or sabotage. It's not that they don't want love. It's that their brain is still wired for survival, not connection. To love them means offering patience while they slowly learn that affection doesn't always come with a price. Healing is not simple. It requires time, safety, and steady reassurance. 17. We don't miss people, we miss how they made us feel. You might believe you long for a person, but often it's the emotional state they created within you. Comfort, excitement, belonging, understanding. The brain attaches to the feeling rather than the individual. This is why you can miss someone who wasn't good for you. They awakened emotions you hadn't felt before. Recognizing this difference helps you understand that what you truly seek may not be the person, but the version of yourself you became when you were with them. 18. The right person doesn't heal your trauma. They help you feel safe enough to heal yourself. People often search for someone who will fix them, but true healing is internal. The right relationship doesn't erase your past. It creates a secure space where you can confront it. They'll listen without judgment, stay steady when emotions rise, and remind you that you're not alone. Their presence teaches your nervous system that safety is possible again. Healing happens because you finally feel supported enough to step into your own growth. 19. When we ignore our needs, our body starts speaking for us. Stress, exhaustion, anxiety. These are emotional messages disguised as physical symptoms. Headaches, fatigue, digestive problems, tension. The body keeps score of what the mind tries to suppress. When you silence your feelings for too long, your body forces you to pay attention. This is why rest, boundaries, and emotional honesty are not luxuries. They are necessities. Your body is always speaking. The question is whether you're willing to listen. 20. Connection grows when people feel seen, not when they feel impressed. You don't build deep relationships by being perfect, interesting, or extraordinary. You build them by being real, honest about your fears, flaws, hopes, and mistakes. People bond through vulnerability because it signals trust. When you allow someone to see you fully, without filters or performance, intimacy grows. Love thrives where truth exists, not in the place where you hide the parts of yourself you fear won't be accepted. 21. Putting others first often comes from a history of being put last. People who always give, help, and prioritize others didn't become that way by accident. Many learned early that love was conditional, earned by being useful, quiet, or accommodating. So they grew up believing their worth depended on how much they could offer. But constantly giving comes at a cost. Emotional exhaustion, resentment, and loss of self. The hardest lesson for them is realizing that they deserve care too, without having to earn it. 22. You can outgrow people without hating them. Growth doesn't require conflict. Sometimes you simply evolve, and your values, dreams, and priorities change. People who once fit your life no longer align with who you're becoming. It doesn't mean they were bad or wrong, only that their chapter in your story has closed. Maturity is recognizing when to love from a distance without bitterness. Understanding that letting go is sometimes the kindest act for both sides. 23. The brain can confuse anxiety with love. When relationships feel unpredictable, inconsistency, hot and cold behavior triggers adrenaline. The emotional highs and lows mimic the intensity of romantic passion, making the connection feel deeper than it is. This makes unhealthy relationships addictive. The mind learns to chase the emotional reward, even when the cost is pain. Healthy love may feel calm at first, even boring, because your nervous system isn't constantly in survival mode. Real love is steady, not chaotic. 24. We don't fear change. We fear loss of what we know. Even when something hurts, it feels safe simply because it's familiar. The unknown activates psychological resistance, making change feel threatening. This is why people stay at jobs they hate, in relationships that drain them, or in cities that no longer serve them. The brain prefers predictability over possibility. Growth requires stepping into uncertainty, trusting that something new can be better than what's familiar. 25. Love grows through patience more than passion. Passion burns fiercely, but patience builds a foundation. It's easy to love someone when emotions are high, but true love is proven in the quiet, ordinary moments. Showing up when it's inconvenient, choosing kindness during conflict, staying consistent when life becomes stressful. Passion sparks connection, but patience keeps it alive. The relationships that endure are the ones where both people show up every day, even when the feelings fluctuate. 26. When we don't understand our feelings, we try to control our environment instead. Unprocessed emotions create tension beneath the surface. To cope, some people try to control people, routines, or situations. Not because they're controlling by nature, but because chaos inside makes them crave order outside. Control is a shield against vulnerability, but no amount of external structure can heal internal turmoil. Peace comes when we learn to name our feelings, sit with them, and let them move through us. 27. Listening without defensiveness is one of the rarest forms of love. It's easy to respond, argue, or justify. But truly listening requires humility and emotional maturity. When someone shares their pain and you simply hear them, without trying to fix or fight, you affirm their humanity. That single act builds trust more than any words. Presence is a gift. Some wounds don't need solutions, only understanding. 28. Sometimes we don't want closure. We want another chance. People talk about closure as if it's always healing, but often the heart doesn't seek explanation. It seeks continuation. We replay conversations, memories, possibilities, wishing for a different outcome. But closure doesn't come from answers. It comes from acceptance. The hardest truths are the ones we must give ourselves, long after the other person has gone silent. 29. You can't lose what was never meant for you, but you can waste years holding on. Some relationships teach lessons, not permanence. But when we cling to what's no longer aligned, we delay new opportunities, new love, new growth. Letting go feels like failure, but sometimes it's the most courageous step. Trusting that the universe replaces what it removes. What leaves your life creates space for what belongs. 30. Real love won't ask you to shrink. If someone requires you to diminish your personality, silence your dreams, or lower your standards to keep them, it's not love, it's control. The right person celebrates your growth, even when it changes the dynamic. Love expands you. It invites you to explore, evolve, and rise. Anyone who asks you to make yourself smaller is afraid of their own limitations, not yours. 1. Women remember the emotions, not just the words. When a woman hears something, she doesn't just record the sentence like a tape recorder. She absorbs how it was said. The tone, the tension, the softness, the slight hesitation in a voice. That emotional layer gets stored much deeper in her memory than the literal words themselves. That's why she can look at someone years later and remember exactly how that moment made her feel, even when the details of the conversation are blurry. For women, emotions are not background noise. They're the foundation. This is also why careless tones can cut deeper than careless words. What you say might fade, but how you made her feel becomes a permanent chapter in her emotional memory. 2. A woman's silence can say more than 1,000 words. When she goes silent, it's not always indifference. Sometimes, silence is what happens when every explanation has already been given, every emotion already spilled. It's not weakness. It's power. It's protection. It's the point where she decides her peace matters more than being understood by someone who isn't listening. People often misread a woman's silence as coldness, but in truth, it's often the sound of someone who has simply learned not to waste her words on ears that don't care. That silence is heavy. It's not empty. And if you've ever seen a woman choose silence over speaking, you've witnessed strength disguised as stillness. 3. Women smile even when they're broken inside. Many women learn from a young age to smile through pain. Society often teaches them that quiet strength is admirable, that vulnerability is weakness, that being too emotional makes them less believable. So they wear a smile even when it hurts. It's not because they don't feel pain. It's because they've learned to protect their hearts from the world's judgment. That soft smile can be a mask, a wall, and a quiet scream all at once. And those who see only the surface will never understand how much strength it takes to smile through the ache. 4. Women form emotional bonds faster and deeper. Oxytocin, the bonding hormone, plays a powerful role in how women emotionally connect. When a woman starts trusting someone, her brain creates a deeper emotional attachment far quicker than she may even realize. That's why betrayal cuts so sharply. To her, a bond isn't just a moment. It's a thread woven into her sense of safety. Once that trust is established, she lets down walls that were built from years of pain, insecurity, and hard lessons. She doesn't just connect with words. She connects with energy, with consistency, with how someone shows up when the world gets loud. 5. A woman who seems cold has usually been warm too many times. That distant woman who appears untouchable wasn't always that way. Most of the time, she's the woman who gave too much of herself in the past, her patience, her trust, her heart, only to be left carrying shards of it alone. Coldness isn't her nature. It's her defense. It's a quiet warning. I've been here before, and I won't break the same way twice. Beneath the layers of calm detachment, there's often a soul that once loved fearlessly. 6. Women notice energy before words. A woman can walk into a room and instantly feel when something's off. She may not have proof, but she senses it. The shift in tone, the subtle change in rhythm, the way someone avoids her eyes. This heightened sensitivity isn't weakness. It's emotional intelligence sharpened through years of observing, adapting, and surviving. She doesn't need an explanation. She reads the air. 7. A woman who loves deeply remembers details forever. When a woman truly loves, she remembers things you didn't even notice you did. She remembers how your voice cracked at 2 a.m. when you finally opened up. She remembers your favorite snack on days you were exhausted. She remembers what made you laugh, what made you quiet, what made you real. Love for her isn't just a feeling. It's a map of everything that made the connection feel alive. 8. Women forgive faster than they heal. When a woman says, "It's okay," it often isn't. It's her way of holding peace together while she bleeds on the inside. Forgiveness for her isn't erasure, it's survival. But wounds don't disappear just because she decided to forgive. They stay, quietly shaping how she moves, how she trusts, how she protects herself the next time. 9. Women feel emotions in layers, not lines. Emotions for a woman are rarely black and white. She can feel joy and grief in the same breath. She can love someone deeply while knowing she needs to walk away. She can smile while her heart aches. These layered emotions are part of what makes her both delicate and fierce. To understand her, you have to stop looking for simple answers. 10. When a woman trusts you, you hold a fragile power. Earning her trust isn't a game. It's a slow, quiet unfolding of everything she's kept hidden. When she chooses to trust, she isn't just handing over secrets. She's handing over the softest, most unguarded part of her soul. If you ever hold a woman's trust in your hands, know that breaking it doesn't just change how she sees you. It changes how she sees the world. 11. When a woman starts distancing herself, it's not random. It's a decision born in silence. People often think emotional distance happens overnight, but with women, it almost never does. Before she pulls away, she notices every subtle shift. She absorbs every quiet betrayal, every small disappointment, every moment someone made her feel unseen. She collects them like pebbles in her pocket until one day the weight becomes too heavy. That's when she retreats. Her silence isn't sudden. It's a quiet answer to pain she never spoke about. She doesn't slam the door. She simply stops standing in it. 12. Women protect their hearts long after they've been broken. When someone breaks a woman's heart, it doesn't just heal and reset. A part of her starts guarding every doorway to her soul. She questions kindness. She replays motives. She becomes careful with who she lets close. It's not coldness, it's survival. She's rebuilding trust in the world, brick by brick, hoping someone will be patient enough to stay while she learns to open up again. 13. A woman's laughter can be a shield as much as it is a song. When a woman laughs, the world sees joy. But sometimes, that laugh is hiding something she can't explain. Humor is often a defense mechanism, a soft veil over a scarred heart. It's easier to laugh than to bleed in front of people who might not understand. Her laughter isn't fake. It's layered. It's joy and pain coexisting in one beautiful sound. 14. Women have a unique ability to love broken things. A woman can love someone who doesn't see their own worth. She can hold a storm in her hands and call it home. She can pour light into places where no one else dared to go. This is both her gift and her curse. She sees potential where others see problems. But if that love isn't returned with the same depth, it starts to drain her slowly, piece by piece. 15. When a woman walks away quietly, it's the loudest goodbye. A woman rarely explodes when she's done. She doesn't beg, doesn't scream. She simply walks away with everything she gave, her love, her trust, her fire, and leaves silence behind. That silence is the echo of every chance she offered, every late-night prayer for things to change. When she walks away quietly, it's because she's already screamed in her heart 1,000 times. 16. Women often carry other people's pain like their own. Women have an incredible emotional capacity. They absorb the pain of those they love as if it's their own. They worry deeply, feel deeply, care deeply, sometimes to the point of forgetting themselves. That empathy can heal others, but it can also break her if no one ever thinks to ask, "How are you doing?" A woman who carries the world in her chest eventually needs someone to carry her too. 17. When a woman is soft, it's not weakness, it's courage. Being soft in a world that has hardened her is an act of rebellion. A woman who loves despite being hurt, who trusts despite being betrayed, who smiles despite the weight on her shoulders. That's not fragile. That's powerful. Her softness is her weapon. It's proof she refused to let the world make her bitter. 18. A woman who feels deeply also remembers longer. Pain doesn't just pass through her. It roots itself, like ink soaking into paper. She may forgive, she may smile, she may even move on. But somewhere inside her, that memory lives on as a lesson, as a scar, as a reminder. And those who mistake her forgiveness for forgetfulness will learn just how sharp a quiet memory can be. 19. Women often hold back tears, not because they don't want to cry, but because they're tired of not being understood. She's cried before, she's explained before, she's opened up before. And too many times, it didn't change a thing. So now, when the pain rises in her chest, she swallows it down and turns it into silence. Not because she doesn't feel it, but because she's learned the world doesn't always hear women when they speak softly. 20. When a woman loves herself, she becomes untouchable. The most powerful transformation is when a woman stops seeking validation from others and starts giving it to herself. She learns that she doesn't need to beg to be chosen. She doesn't need to shrink to be loved. When she loves herself, she walks differently. She speaks differently. And suddenly, what once broke her no longer has power over her. That's not arrogance, that's liberation. 21. Women remember the moments they stopped explaining. There comes a point in many women's lives where they stop trying to convince someone of their worth, their feelings, or their pain. That moment is quiet but defining. She remembers the exact second she realized that repeating herself was only exhausting her soul, not changing the situation. That's when the switch flips, from trying to be understood to protecting her peace. Once a woman reaches that place, it's nearly impossible to pull her back into the chaos she walked out of. That silence becomes her strength,